Is it possible to beat Honkai Star Rail without ever wishing on the standard or limited event banner? A question on my mind ever since Honkai Star Rail was released. And to answer this question, I've decided to make a brand new account in Honkai Star Rail where we can only use the free-to-play characters given. The rules of this challenge are as follows. You cannot wish on any in-game warps. Collected Star Rail passes cannot be used on any banners. This includes but are not limited to beginner warps, standard warps, character event warps, and light cone event warps. The exception to this rule is the one roll you have to make during the tutorial, since if you do not make the roll, you cannot progress through the storyline. 2. Characters collected through other means can be used. There will be many other ways a player can obtain characters without the use of warps. As long as the character is obtained without warping, they can be used. 3. Progress the account as much as possible. Our goal here is to see how much of the game's content can be cleared with just free-to-play characters. As long as Rule 1 is not broken, we are free to explore Honkai Star Rail as required. If you enjoyed the video and want to see more content like this, please consider dropping a like and a sub. But otherwise, let's begin our journey in Honkai Star Rail. We start out our journey by entering into a spaceship named Herta Space Station. Here, we are met with Kefka, who's here for various reasons, but more importantly, serves as a tutorial to introduce us into the game. Honkai Star Rail combat system is turn-based, where players can choose to perform an action during their turn. The turn system is best explained at the top left corner of the screen, where it shows the order characters will go. During your turn, you can choose to perform a basic attack, a skill, or an ultimate, which can be used once you have maximum energy. This combat system is easy to learn, however is difficult to master due to your actions having a rippling effect on later stages of the battle. Once we have learnt the basic of the combat system, we are introduced to our main character of the story, alongside a character named March 7th. March 7th is the Honkai Star Rail's version of Ember in Genshin Impact. They talk a lot and give priceless expressions when you give questionable remarks during conversations. But unlike Ember, March 7th is relatively useful in Honkai Star Rail. Even though her attacks are really weak, she has an ability which generates shields to prevent a character from taking damage. This shield ability is going to be invaluable since it will keep us alive for a good portion of this game. We are then introduced with Dan Heng. Dan Heng is a character specialized in dealing large amounts of damage to a single character. His abilities will be invaluable to deal with tougher enemies. Speaking of which, we are going to be dealing with this horse guy. Well, the name is Void Ranger Trampler, but horse guy will suffice. Have you seen these symbols on top of the enemy's head? These symbols are the elements the enemies are weak at, and by inflicting the respective elements, their shield goes down, which once the shield is down, they will be temporarily unable to fight. This is important since due to our lack of characters, we need to rely on using the correct element to deal enough damage to keep our characters alive. This will allow us to complete this fight and progress the story where we will be introduced to Himeko and the main lobby of Herta Space Station. This is where we unlock the wishing system where you are forced to make a roll on the standard banner. This will be the only time I will be using the wishing system since you are forced to make a warp in order to progress through the storyline. Do note, this roll is guaranteed to give S-star. Unlocking warps also unlocks the mailbox. In the mailbox contains a 5th character named Serval, which at the making of this video is a guaranteed character anyone can get once you get to this point in the storyline. We will decide on who to use later since Himeko will be taking the final slot in the party. This is also a good time to talk about the character interface. Details shows your basic character stats and weapon equipped. Light cones are the main weapon your character is using, which the light cones were obtained by following the storyline. Traces are stat increases you can make to your character, and Eidolons are the constellations equivalent for your character. For now, I've decided to upgrade the main character and the weapon since he will be really useful in dealing damage to multiple enemies. But an argument can be made to upgrade Dan Heng as well, since the single enemy damage output is pretty good as well. The upcoming boss fight is a tricky one. You don't have a lot of characters to work with, and the lack of a healer can make this fight a bit challenging. But since we have Himeko, who has the ability to damage the shield of all enemies, combined with Trailblazer's ultimate base boss slam, this boss was eventually taken down. We now go back to Herta Space Station and are introduced to the simulated universe. This is an endgame content where you can farm to your heart's content in order to gain various rewards, which will be helpful in later stages of the game. But as far as the story is concerned, we are here to test the simulated universe for Herta, and once the trial simulated universe is done, we unlock our 6th character, Herta. This is where we make our first decision of this game. Who is going to be our 4th character? We have Estar, a fire character who can buff characters with increased attack speed. We have Serval, a lightning character who can deal lightning damage to multiple enemies. And Herta, an ice character who can deal ice damage to multiple enemies and perform follow-up attacks where required. And after some considerations, I've decided to bring Serval into the team. This is due to her electric ability being able to take down shields more consistently than Estar's fire damage. Once we have a party ready to go, Trailblazer officially joins the Astral Express and off we go to explore Jariel 6. Jariel 6 is a planet frosted due to the eternal freeze, due to an entity named the Stellaron. What we know about the Stellaron is limited to Stellaron bad. We get rid of Stellaron equals good, and that's all you need to know about the storyline. This is a good time to explain the exploration of this game. You appear in the small map and run around to find stuff. The map is limited to a few small areas, and attacking enemies results entering into a battle mode. There are a few points of interest such as chests, which grants resources, and books, which explains various details within the storyline. However, I will be running through most of the enemies to beat the game as quickly as possible. At this stage, we unlock something called Calyxes. These are basically ley lines in Honkai Star Rail, and the first place where you can use Trailblazer power, which is the resin equivalent for Honkai Star Rail. Using this opportunity, I used some Trailblazer power to upgrade my characters. The actual fights within Calyxes are really simple since the monsters are pretty underleveled, and you can press this button on the top right corner of the screen to do the fight for you. After rescuing a purple-haired man from the snow, we were ambushed by a group of people. These are the Silvermane Guards, which is led by this blonde gentleman named Gepard. Beating Gepard is accompanied with a boss fight, but this boss fight is not meant to be beaten, as after a few turns, we enter into a cutscene where the fight was settled peacefully and we were led into the city named Belobog. The city itself doesn't have much to offer. There are shops which sells books relating to Belobog and vending machines which sells consumables that temporarily boost your character's stats when used. However, there is a shop where you can exchange your world currencies for various items. This shop is going to be helpful in just a bit, but for now it's time to continue on with the storyline. Once in the city, we are faced with Bronya and Cocolia. These two figures are the most prominent people on Jariel 6, but long story short, we made them angry and we are now fugitives. During our escape, we unlock another form of Calyx. This Calyx is different than the previous one since this Calyx gives Ether, which is the experience materials for light cones, while the one in the snow gives XP books, which is used to increase the character level itself. I'll be alternating between these two Calyxes for the time being in order to max up our active characters and their weapons. We now engage in our first actual boss fight in Jariel 6. Surprise surprise, it's Bronya and her army catching up to us and forcing us into an ambush. This boss fight is split into two phases. In the first phase, you must face 3 Silvermane Guards, which can be easily handled by using Trailblazer's skill which hits multiple enemies at the same time. After the guards are down, we face Bronya accompanied by 2 additional guards. Since Dan Heng is our first character to attack, I focus his attack on the guard to the left due to it being weak to wind damage. The guard on the right is weak to ice and physical damage, both which March 7th and Trailblazer can deal respectively, which leaves us with just Bronya. As you can see on top of the screen, Bronya is weak to physical, fire and imaginary damage. Since we do not have an imaginary and fire character in this fight, we have to use Trailblazer's attack to weaken her. As Bronya keeps attacking March 7th in this fight, I had to spend her shield on her in order to keep her alive while Trailblazer slowly takes down the shield. Once the shield is down, this will allow us to drop her health down to below 50%. She will summon more guards once she recovers, but as long as we repeat this process of killing her guards and targeting her weakness, she will be defeated with minimal issues. Once Bronya is defeated, we are greeted with smoke bombs by Sampo, who is the character we rescued from the snow not too long ago. His smoke bombs are proven to be effective as it sends everyone, including us, to sleep, eventually waking up to Sampo talking to another person, waking up in what looks like a clinic. This is where we meet Natasha, who informs us we are located in a place named Boulder Town, which is a town located directly underneath Belobog. Here we meet up with March 7th and a kid named Hook, who guides us into a fighting cage where Dan Heng was located. The cage fight was filled with 3 small robots which the team was able to handle no problem, before meeting up with Bronya, who just so happens to be stuck with us in Boulder Town. Through this interaction, we meet up with a new character named Seely, who's a resident of Boulder Town who guides us through the mines in order to gather resources for the town. This is where we unlock a new function called Relics, which is the artifacts equivalent for Honkai Star Rail. Our time at the mines introduced us to a few new enemies. The Vagrants, although weak to fire element, are not too strong and can be defeated with minimal issues. The automaton Direwolf, although has more health, is weak to ice and electricity, which our team specializes in. And the automaton Grizzly, who has even more health and is weak to fire element, an element we did not specialize in. Quick note, I would have swapped my party for a more favorable fight, but some of these fights were triggered during cutscenes, where the enemy shows up, which does not give us a chance to change parties. But it doesn't matter, since if you can still beat it in one try, you do not need to change the party. The next section of the story brings us into Rivet Town, where we were tasked to find resources for Natasha's clinic, which involves me running around dodging enemies. Fun fact, if you get ambushed during a fight, you can retreat and go back to your last safe spot, which helps to avoid unnecessary fights. Here, we were ambushed by Ice out of space. Interesting. Anyway, we were ambushed by this enemy, which is where I faced my first defeat on this account. At the time of joining the fight, we did not have a fire character, and March 7's shield was too weak to keep everyone alive. With this defeat, I removed Serval from the party and added Esta as a pyro damage will proc 4 times to quickly deplete the shield. With Esta around, this boss fight becomes a piece of cake, which we emerge victorious. While Bronya and Silly were having a great time chatting about their past, we went down to a warehouse to search for additional supplies. This is where we meet up with a white-haired girl whose name is Clara. I would recommend Clara to wear shoes, unless she wants to accidentally step on rusty nails, which will give you a feet infection. After retrieving supplies for Natasha, she joins our team as our 7th character. As a follow-up Trailblazer quest required rank 18, I decided to work on a few tasks which involved clearing Simulated Universe version 2. This contributed to our character now having a max level of 30 and granted us our first 4-star Lycone, which I promptly used on Dan Heng to increase his damage output. Continuing the Trailblazer quest, we resume with helping out Boulder Town to locate the Stellaron. This now leads us to a new area where Clara was located. However, to enter the area, we have to open this gate, which requires level 3 clearance. Levels 1 and 2 clearance requires you to pick the right answer, while level 3 clearance is scripted to always fight some robots. Even though I was not reading anything throughout the entire game, I got extremely lucky and picked the 2 correct answers. Champion, I'm gonna say, I could be wrong. Oh, nice. I think logic. Oh, I got to ride the game. Yo, let's go. Once level 3 clearance was achieved, the gate was opened, which led to another gate. Yes, there was another gate we had to unlock. This time, the gate can only be opened with Clara's approval, which means we have to find Clara. After searching around in Rivet Town, we find Clara in a dangerous situation with what looks like, let me guess, fire out of space? This enemy, whose actual name is Blaze out of space, is weak to ice and physical damage. However, I was able to change my party to have more ice characters, which allows us to break the shield quickly, resulting in an easier fight. Once we've saved Clara, it was a matter of time before we got Clara's clearance to open the final gate into the robot settlement. Here, we meet up with Svarog again, and after a failed attempt at negotiation, we now have to fight it. This fight was rougher than my previous fights due to him having a few hard-hitting attacks, and this attack in particular takes down a lot of health from everyone. Natasha is scripted to heal everyone after one turn has passed, but due to our characters having a poor matchup with Svarog's weaknesses and how I used Dan Heng's skill too early, this ended up with March 7th being unable to shield anyone up, which led to everyone dying. With this defeat, I changed my roster to replace Trailblazer with Esta. Combined with my realization to limit the usage of skills to just Esta and March 7th, I was able to beat Svarog this time around and complete the relevant Trailblazer quest. Now the storyline for Honkai is far from over, and there's still another world we have to explore. So if you enjoyed the video, why not drop a like and let me know in the comments if you want to see me continue this challenge. But otherwise, thanks for watching and see you all next time.